Welcome to my film review of Quentin Tarantino's ninth movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So, the purpose of this review, I'm going to be a little bit different to most reviews. Let's face it, you know you want to see this movie. Okay? So this review is going to be from one movie lover to another, from one Quentin Tarantino huge fanboy to another. We're going to talk about the movie briefly. I'm going to let you know what to expect and where to set your expectations. As per usual, I'm not going to tell you anything about what happens in the movie because my reviews aren't giving away any spoilers or any clues whatsoever as to what happens in the movie. You want to go to the movie, you want to enjoy the movie not knowing what's about to happen, right? Hence why you come to my film reviews, so that you don't get any spoilers. So nothing's going to change for this review. I'm not going to spend too much time discussing the movie because at the end of the day you probably know that you want to go and see it, but there are a couple of elements that I want to discuss, and hang around until the end because what we're going to do is look at all of the Quentin Tarantino movies. We could call it, if we're going to copy Marvel, the Quentin Tarantino universe. We won't call it that. And we're going to look at the ninth movie. That doesn't sound right. I'm sure he's made more than 9 movies, so we're going to look at all that. Okay, I'm quite looking forward to going through that. But first, let's discuss the movie. Now, I have, as per usual for any blockbuster huge movie, I absolutely stay away from all reviews. I have no idea what the general publics, or particularly film critics, think about this movie because I don't know if you saw my review. I can't remember what movie it was for. It might have been Annabella Creation, possibly. That was when I first saw Annabella Comes Home. That was when I first saw the trailer for Quentin Tarantino. Do you remember when you first saw the trailer? It's like, where were you when you heard Princess Diane was dead? Where were you when we landed on the moon? Where were you when you first saw that Quentin Tarantino was making a 9th movie and it was coming out and you saw the trailer? If, like me, you almost jumped out of your chair in excitement, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I've avoided all the reviews. I've been desperately looking forward to this movie ever since I heard about it, which, like I say, it was only because I saw the trailer. I don't go online and do movie blogs or anything like that and read stuff. You know, I just see what comes out at the trailers. The trailers I see at the cinema is when I find out about movies, basically. And it's a very exciting way to find out about new movies. A trailer comes up and you're like, oh yes, it's a Quentin Tarantino movie or whatever it might be. So that's how I get my information, and I've avoided the reviews, so I do not know what they are for this movie. However, I would not be surprised if the reviews for this movie were hugely critical. Like, if people said this movie was pants, pointless, far too long, made no sense, rubbish, to be honest, I would not be in the slightest bit surprised. However, I still enjoyed the movie. Just like with other movies that I've reviewed recently, you know, in one hand you could say it's pants, but I still loved it. And that's kind of the crack with the Quentin Tarantino movie. So you've probably seen the trailer, like me, 9th Quentin Tarantino movie, that keeps getting said. So you've seen the trailer. It looks great. You've got Brad Pitt, you've got Leonardo DiCaprio, you've got Margot Robbie, probably the hottest woman on the planet right now, Kurt Russell, you know, and the blokes that I've mentioned obviously have been in Quentin Tarantino movies in the past. He knows what actors he loves, he uses them again and again, and he generally uses the best actors. Unfortunately, Sammy J isn't in this one. Obviously, he's been in a lot of the Quentin movies. He's not in this one, unfortunately. But Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio are sensational in this. Like I say, you've seen the trailer, so well, I was going to say, so you get the gist of the movie, but you probably don't, because like me, you watched the trailer and you thought, okay, that's great. It doesn't seem to give too much away. I definitely want to watch this movie, there's no question about it, but I don't really get what the movie's about. It's something to do with Hollywood. Okay. And for most of the movie, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking I still don't get what this movie is about. And I'm also thinking to myself, hang on a minute, this has got an 18 certificate. So, you know, with that in mind, I'm thinking Quentin's going to rustle something up good here. You know, it's going to all of a sudden come to life. And we get there, but not in the way that I expected. This was nothing like what I was probably hoping for, if I'm brutally honest. But that isn't to say I didn't enjoy it. The crazy thing is, right, this is the crack. It was on for 2 hours and 40 minutes, right? That is a long movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, not... I'm happy with long movies. Lord of the Rings, 4 hours, including the extended scenes, not long enough, you know? A good movie, there's no such thing as too long. But 2 hours and 40 minutes, I mean, compare that to some of his other movies, he doesn't very often go this long with a movie, so you'd be thinking, this must be a masterpiece. This must be an absolute masterpiece. And to be honest, it's not. Of all of his movies, this is nowhere near my favourite. You know, it wasn't very Quentin Tarantino. It kind of was Quentin Tarantino-y because it was gripping and awesome, and the actors were just brilliant. But at the same time, it was weirdly meh, strange. But point being, anyway. So let's set the scene so you know what to expect. Now, as you know from the title, this is set in Hollywood. Straight away, first scene, the date comes up 1969, so it's the very end of the 60s in Hollywood. And having since read the information about the movie, which I hadn't even read that, I like to go on a movie known as little as possible. So having now read the info piece about the movie, this is a key thing. It's supposed to be set and a odal, a tribute, if you like, a tilt of the hat to Hollywood's golden age. Now, I'm not old enough to have realised that this was supposed to be Hollywood's golden age. Now that I know that, a lot more of the film kind of made sense, because there was stuff happening in the film where I'm thinking, oh, this is going to lead to something amazing because it's Quentin Tarantino. Oh, what's it going to be? Oh, nothing. That's weird. Still, it's Quentin Tarantino. I'm going to continue giving him the benefit of the doubt because it's Quentin Tarantino and I love him. But now I understand, if this is just supposed to be tilting its hat saying, hey, the golden age of Hollywood, don't forget Quentin Tarantino was born in 1963, okay? He grew up around this era, you know? All these movies, this era, Hollywood's golden era, would have been the movies that Quentin Tarantino grew up with. So to him, this will be a very personal, special movie. Whereas to the younger generation, you might be thinking, what the hell's all this about? This is lame. This is boring. But then for the youngsters, don't worry. At the end, he gives you a piece of awesomeness. So you come away, for me, hugely satisfied. But for a lot of the movie, I was confused, thinking, when's this going to turn into Quentin Tarantino-ish? So, like I say, don't be confused by that seemingly negative remark, because this is the crazy thing. I often look at my clock at certain times of a movie so that I can give some kind of feedback as to how bored or not bored I was, and here's the crack. I thought to myself, oh, it's maybe been an hour by now. I'll look at my clock. It had been an hour and 15 minutes. So the first hour and 15 minutes, it felt like it flew by. Nothing seemed to really be happening, but I really enjoyed it. Do you get what I'm saying? I really enjoyed it, even though nothing seemed to be happening. And then I looked at my clock again, thinking maybe another half hour had gone by, and it had been 45 minutes. So again, time was flying during this movie. You see what I mean? Even though it might have seemed like not much was going on, what was going on was really enjoyable. So there you go. So I'm going to give this movie a 7.7 out of 10. 8 feels maybe a tad generous, but it is a good, enjoyable movie. But for all Quentin fans out there, I would just say to you, you know, this is him tilting his hat to the Hollywood golden age. This is him making a love story movie, if you like, to Hollywood's golden era, which might be lost on quite a few of us, but you've got to understand that. And what makes this movie so amazingly brilliant, to say that not much feels like it's happening, Brad Pitt. If you like Brad Pitt as an actor, I do. I think he's amazing. My God, he is good in this. Brad Pitt is brilliant in this movie, and so is Leonardo DiCaprio. Man, he is brilliant in this. Absolutely brilliant. So because of Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, you can get away with the story being a little bit meh, you know, because they are just so good. They really are. And the one thing I found a little bit strange about this movie, criticism I have, is let's just say there might be a character in the movie which I was thinking, okay, when is this character's role in the movie going to integrate with the main storyline and become relevant? And it never did. And from the trailer, I kind of in my head had something playing out that also never played out. I thought about it afterwards. I was like, oh, that never happened. So there's like another character that's a cameo, and you think, no, he's going to be a main character and something's going to kick off, and all of a sudden he's gone. And then there's another character whose storyline just seems to be irrelevant. But then I get that because it's the Hollywood golden age, I get it. I guess that it has something to do with that. But I found this particular character's whole role quite confusing. Didn't quite get it. I wasn't sure what was going on, whether there was some deception going on or whether it was for real. I guess it was supposed to be for real because it's a tilt of the hat to Hollywood's golden age. Found it a little bit weird, a little bit confusing. Could just be my ignorance, my lack of understanding of the industry and the story, and also the fact that I was going into this movie expecting an explosive Quentin Tarantino masterpiece, and it was good and enjoyable, but there was no way this was Quentin at his best. I mean, think of Django Unchained, right? That was a really long movie, if I remember rightly. That was probably about the same, 2.5, maybe 3 hours, I don't know. But it was phenomenally gripping, and it built up and it built up and it built up, and then the end of the movie just explodes, and it's like, oh, yes. I was kind of expecting the same kind of thing, and almost, but not quite, basically. That's kind of the assessment. So, like I say, he likes to use actors that he knows will deliver. That's exactly what they did, and they carried it. End scenes, before I go on to discussing the Quentin back catalogue. End scenes, don't get up and leave the cinema. Few comments. Some people, as soon as the movie ended, even though it hadn't ended because the scene hadn't ended, they straight away get up and start walking out. That, to me, always tells you a story about how much people were enjoying it. It feels like they couldn't wait to get out of the cinema. And that happened. And then there's another end sequence. The end sequence isn't brilliant. It's a little bit like the end sequences of the Fast and the Furious, Hobbs and Shaw. Kind of irrelevant. You could walk out and not see them and it wouldn't really matter, you know, but why not hang around? So be warned, there's an end sequence, hang around, you might as well watch it, and then at the end there's some kind of like commentary, audio stuff going on that you could listen to. Once you see that one additional end scene, there were no more. I waited till the very end, black screen, everything gone, there was nothing. So there's one additional end scene to hang around for, and that's it. So there you go. It was a strange experience for Quentin Tarantino. I felt like if it was any other director, I'd possibly be slating the movie. I feel like I'm maybe being very generous because it's Quentin, but then Quentin does give you those deliveries of epicness that are worth waiting for, that you really enjoy, you know, really satisfying. But most importantly, Brad Pitt and DiCaprio, they're just phenomenal. I just loved every minute of them in this movie. I really did. It was like just a masterpiece from those two actors. So, you know, is that Quentin's directing skills? Or is it just two phenomenal actors? Or is it a combination of them all? Either way, movie gets a thumbs up, 7.7 out of 10. Not the highest of scores, but it was decent. But I wouldn't be surprised if some critics are slagging this off. I'm really looking forward to listening to some film reviews now of this movie and seeing what people thought about it. So there you go. That's the end of the film review. I hope you appreciate that. I hope I haven't given anything away and given you a bit of a taster of where to set your expectations for this movie. And now we are going to look at, hang on a minute, Quentin's 9th movie. That doesn't sound right. Well, it isn't. He's kind of cheating. When he says it's his 9th movie, that is because Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2 are counted as one movie. So really, you could say this is his 10th that he's written and directed, but in reality, they're classing Kill Bill as one movie, split into two parts, so therefore this is his ninth. So let's have a look chronologically at his 9 movies that he's directed and written, and then we'll also have a little look of some of the other movies that you'll also consider to be masterpieces that he's either written or played some part in storyline. So here we go. Starting at number 1, Reservoir Dogs, 1992, one of the greatest movies of all time. So that's number 1. Number 2, Pulp Fiction, 1994. For the majority of my life, Pulp Fiction has been my number 1 all-time favourite movie. Ask me what my favourite movie is, Pulp Fiction. For most of my life, I've been saying that. So that's Pulp Fiction, number 2. At number 3, we have a 3-year wait, 1997, and it's Jackie Brown. That's his third one in 97. And then in 2, we had a long wait, 6 years. Can you remember the excitement? 6 years for Kill Bill for Quentin Tarantino to bring out Kill Bill. So we have Kill Bill Volume 1 in 2003, and Kill Bill Volume 2 came out a year later in 2004. But we are only counting that as one movie. So movie number 5, 3 years later again, and we have Death Proof in 2007. That's movie number 5. Movie number 6 in 2009 is Inglourious Bastards. And then we had another 3-year wait, 2012. Movie number 7, Django Unchained. How awesome was that? And then we have 2015, 3 years later again, The Hateful Eight. That was movie number 8. And here we are, as advertised, movie number 9, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019. So there's his 9 movies that he has directed and written. So let's have a look at some of the movies that he's written but not directed. Earliest one would be right after he did Reservoir Dogs. A year later we had 1993, True Romance. I mean, as a young lad at the time, I was like barely a teenager when this movie came out. True Romance, you're like, oh, I'm a bloke, I don't like chick flick movies. It was like so gangster. I mean, how good is True Romance? I haven't watched that movie for probably 5-6 years. I need to watch that again. True Romance is awesome. And then we look down, From Dusk Till Dawn. He wrote that but didn't direct it. That's a cracker of a movie, From Dusk Till Dawn. Then we have Sin City. He was a partial director. He didn't write it, but he was a partial director of Sin City. That is an awesome movie. And then we have Planet Terror. He was a producer, but he didn't write or direct that one. So that's it, actually. Oh, sorry, missed one. Natural Born Killers in 1994. Again, how awesome is that movie? That was another one of my favourite movies growing up. Natural Born Killers. And guess what? Tarantino wrote it. Wrote the story. So, finally, we have 4 rooms where partial director, partial writer, and a little bit of producer. 4 rooms. So there you go. That is the list of the Quentin Tarantino movies. I've given you the 9, which is kind of 10 that he's written and directed. There's a few other crackers that he's been involved with. True Romance, Natural Born Killers are the picks there. So what a legend Quentin Tarantino is. He is responsible for a large chunk of my all-time favourite movies. Okay, so if I had to pick one out of all those, what would my favourite movie be? It's still got to be Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction, followed by Reservoir Dogs, 2 absolute masterpieces. Feel free to let me know which is your favourite Quentin Tarantino movie. What did you think of the Kill Bills? They were awesome, but kind of some cringiness in there as well, but that's Quentin for you. What a legend this guy is. Let's hope he continues making movies for a long time to come. His next one will probably be in 2022, 2023, based on how long he generally tends to wait between movies. So I can't wait for them. Let's hope he brings out something off the charts like his original stuff that he did with Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. So there you go. There's my review for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and a little bit of a back catalogue look at Quentin Tarantino's movie history. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for listening to this movie review. Enjoy seeing this at the cinema while you can, and we'll see you on the next review. Thank you. Goodbye.